I think I'm in live. Hey there. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm just gonna give everyone a few minutes to get on in. I am just grabbing a cup of coffee here at Starbucks and wanted to have a quick chat with everybody. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and as always, all throughout the year, I am advocating for awareness and very active in the community, both local and national, in speaking against domestic violence. Um, and, for everyone, anyone, it could be male, female, child, speaking against domestic violence. As a survivor, I have been um, very, very open about my story in my book, Unapologetically Me, Powered for His Purpose. For a long time, I was very, very quiet about it. No more silence. Silence is not golden. Just want everyone to know that silence is not golden. And so I wanted to take a quick moment to give you some information about our children, because there are, so many signs that our children, hopefully you can hear me, um, are either being physically violated or they are experiencing domestic abuse in their family, and they show different signs from that. So they are affected by the parent that's being abused, or they are themselves being physically abused, and so it shows up. Yes, it'll show up. Symptoms will show up, or signs will show up while they're at church. Signs will show up while they're at school, or in their physical activities. And also signs will show up just in relationships that they have in general. And so that puts a responsibility on the coaches, on the teachers, on the counselors, on the parents, on clergy, on parishioners. It puts the accountability on all of us as a community who love our children. That, there are signs that we see, and it doesn't mean that you go meddling. That's not what that means. And so I want to be clear on that. But if that child is in danger, and that child is is affected by abuse, and you know for a fact that there is abuse going on, then it is your responsibility to make sure you get the authorities involved. Okay, it is your responsibility. It's our responsibility. And so I'm going to take just a few moments and chat about this. And I'm hoping prayerfully that those of you that are joining, can type your comments in the comment section of what stood out to you, because we need the village back. The village needs to be back. The village needs to be back as it relates to domestic violence awareness, having that conversation. And so I pray that a lot of people will get on here, and as soon as they hear domestic violence, they'll run away, because it doesn't affect them. It's not affecting them, hasn't affected them, or they could be in denial about the effect that it had on them as an adult or as a child. And so, excuse me, sorry about that. They could be, in denial about that. But some of us have to stand for it, whether it has affected us or not, because it's just not right. Just not right. So I'm going to take a quick moment. Again, many of our children, let me say this again for those of you who just jumped on, are exposed to violence, in their home. They are victims of physical abuse directly, and or they might witness it. They might witness it. I was that child. Where I witnessed it. Okay. And so there are serious short-term and long-term effects of for children that have witnessed domestic violence or are currently being physically abused. And we're not talking about, you know, um, parents that don't spare the rod. We're not talking about that. We're parents that might discipline their children, and, they might give them a spanking. That's different. But abuse is when, there are bruises left on children. There are things that there are signs that someone went way overboard, as in this, of discipline. And there are, I'm never going to tell you how to raise your children. Never going to do that. What I am going to say is that abuse is not right. And if there's a child out there that's being physically abused, it is not okay. And I will say again, for those of you who are just now joining on, we have an accountability as coaches, as mentors, as teachers, um, as teachers, as um, clergy, as principals, as counselors, as parishioners, aunties, uncles, grandma, them, grandpa, and them. We have an obligation, and thank you. I see a note that just came up that said the work is needed. Nice to see you standing on the necessary, uncomfortable topic. Thank you so much. Khadijah 7. Thank you so much. And it is a needed topic. And you're absolutely right. It is uncomfortable. Even from a survivor perspective, it is still uncomfortable. Add to stream. All right. Hey there, sister.
Hi,
How are you? How
I'm
are
good.
you?
I'm
It
good.
is
How are
so
you?
good that you joined today.
Yes. How are you?
I'm well. I am well. Praise God. Praise God. We're talking about today what we agreed for this month of October to talk about
Domestic
that
violence.
uncomfortable topic. Yeah. Um and today we are definitely tapping on, I don't know if it's getting kind of weird on this iPad holding it up. We're tapping on, you know, children um that may be in being physically abused, or witnessing physical abuse and how it affects them, and the responsibility and
Mm,
accountability on the teachers and counselors and family members, clergy, coaches, all of that, to really recognize the signs of a child that has been affected, um, or is being affected currently.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a touchy subject, as you said.
yeah,
I know, you know, when it comes to that kind of thing, it's very delicate.
yeah,
Another word for touchy.
yeah,
So once you suspect something like that is happening, it's just, I think it's important to take it on yourself to really do research as to how to handle it. Because
exactly.
sometimes your immediate response is to go in there and just, try to be the hero in a situation that you can make worse.
Right. Amen. Absolutely, sister. Thank you for sharing that. um and that is so true. And a lot of people don't do anything because they feel like they are meddling, or they don't see the bigger picture of it. And doing something doesn't mean that you have to put on that cape and just run and go save the day, because we are not equipped for that. The authorities are, the social workers are.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Do your research. We have to care for our sisters and brothers, so do your research on how to handle it. you
Yes.
know um, make sure you have all, make sure you just transition that information over to someone who knows how to handle it delicately,
Yep.
because you're absolutely right, it could put someone in danger. It
Hmm.
absolutely can. That does not remove the accountability, folks. That does not remove the accountability. So let me say that again, that because you don't know how to handle it doesn't mean that you don't handle it.
Exactly.
If it's in your circle, in your environment where you see that it's happening, then again, I love what our sister said, who deals with many people in relationships and of that sort, and check and find out what's the best way. If you know there's an immediate danger, you see something happening, obviously you call 911. But some of these signs that I'm going to go over in a couple of seconds, um, they are sometimes subtle and then sometimes not so subtle. So, um, and you can't just assume just because someone has these signs that they are. Hold on one second. Hold on one second for me,
Hmm.
Kayla. I'm on live. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. Okay. So I forgot to tell my daughter I was going to be online, and we've got to go visit a very important place in a minute. Okay.
Okay.
So, so I'm going to go through these few things, if that's okay, sis. And if you can kind
Yeah.
of dive in with me, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with, some of these short-term effects of domestic violence, or any type of abuse with children for our children in preschool. A lot of times, children in preschool, that age group, that they are being affected by physical abuse, or have been, when they begin to revert, like they begin to, um, instead of them sitting in the front right now, they begin to sit in the back. They begin to start bedwetting, or wetting their clothes in school. For our children in preschool, they might start sucking their thumb where they never did that before, because that's kind of like their security blanket. They begin to whine more, they begin to cry more. And we're talking about children in preschool. You'll see a big difference in their behavior, if they are being affected by abuse. And so what I'm saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm just an advocate and a very active activist, with domestic violence. Is I will say that doesn't mean that right away their parents are abusing them or there's domestic abuse in the house. It means watch the child. The child deserves that, because the children, a lot of times, it'll come full circle if it is because of abuse or violence in the home. It'll come usually very, very quickly. It'll come out, but you just have to watch and be more attentive, instead of being more impatient with that child, because something could be going on. That's
Yes.
for the preschool kids.
Yep. I think that's a pretty general rule for anyone you think is in that situation.
Mhm.
You have to be patient and really watch for signs. You know,
Really watch for signs.
really watch for signs. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Um, because, as you said, over time it will be revealed, because that kind of thing never goes on without being discovered at some point by somebody.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so
And preschoolers, they don't really know how to funnel those feelings, right? So they
yeah.
will whine more, cry more. They might even, if they're spending time, thank you so much, sister or brother who's responding. They might, whine more, cry more as a preschooler. They might, because they don't really know how to express it, or they're very, very scared, or they might shake and tremble a lot, and they've never done these things before. Just mind you, you'll see, if you're really paying attention to these young people, you'll see the change, that happens. It's not an accident. It's something going on that needs
Mm,
to be addressed. That could be, let me say that again, that could be domestic violence or physical abuse. Now, you look at our school aged children, they will begin to show symptoms of their self-esteem just plummeted, their
mhm.
confidence, their self esteem. They'll tend to shelter themselves. They'll tend to kind of isolate themselves, if you will. And that's more of our school age children, not necessarily around preschool.
Yeah.
They might start having a lot of headaches. They start
Mm,
complaining about headaches a lot in the school age children. They don't really know how to really funnel those emotions either, but they
yep.
know it's causing stress.
Yep.
It's causing them to be stressed out.
Yep.
And you're talking about a lively child that all of a sudden just, and they may not give you eye contact anymore, because they start to feel ashamed. They don't know that it's not quite right. It just don't feel right. They're not sure what's going on. And so they begin to not show eye contact, no self-esteem, no bright light anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And
So
that's more of our school aged.
yeah. Do you have anything for teenagers?
I do. For teenagers, what I've got written here, which this happens, and we tend to discipline the child more instead of finding out exactly, why are you doing this? What's going on? Tell me more. I want to know. I want to help. The teenagers will begin to skip school. They'll begin to really act out, get into crime, hang out with the wrong people. Sometimes begin to join gangs because they're looking for an extended family away from their own family.
Yep.
They will begin to, and this is real talk, they'll begin to not only have sex, but begin to have unprotected sex. They'll begin to do things that are very negligent. They will begin to bully, fight, cause trouble. not only, just at school, but at family gatherings. Okay. They will usually revert away from um, uh, uh, sports, physical activities, different programs at school and at church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, you always feel like that's the child that their mom made them do something or their dad made them do something. Okay. Um, sorry about that. And it's not that. It could be. And again, I want to make sure I'm being very clear. It could be domestic violence or physical abuse. Okay. It also could be that they are grieving. If they've lost a loved one in their family, they don't know how to process grief. And, I don't know about you, but, when I was a young person, we used to always say, we don't do counselors, we don't take pills for stuff, we keep it in the house, be quiet. And a lot of that misinformation, a lot of that cultural stuff is passed on down the line. And so the children feel like they have no outlet.
And I agree with you. It definitely is a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's becoming more and more accepted. Um, everybody needs somebody to talk to about their feelings.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everyone knows if you keep too many things inside of you, as far as feelings and emotions and stuff like that, it starts to make your body um, freak out. Things that
Yeah.
you were talking about, that
Mm-hmm.
built up stress. Some,
Yes.
as you said, someone who never had headaches before, they start having headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is a very weird and unpredictable thing. It can come out in many different ways.
Many different
So,
ways.
hmm
And the key is to be patient, I think,
yeah,
and be open minded to what could be going on with that young person.
yeah,
Because we're talking about children, they weren't given the book. And if they were given the book, they probably didn't read it of how to handle this stuff. Or
yeah.
they're scared, they might even be being threatened that if you say something about this abuse, then I'm going to hurt your mom or I'm going to hurt your dad,
Yeah.
because the mother could be abusing the father. Anything could be happening. The father could be abusing the mother, and then they threaten the child not to say anything, but the child sees everything or hears everything that's going on,
Hmm.
and so for us that are on the outside, that are active and serving in as mentors and, like I said, coaches and teachers and counselors and clergy, it is our responsibility to really, when that child is in our surrounding, that we give them love, right? And a lot of times that love is just listening. It's not judging them and, just making it seem like they're such horrible kids. They might be going through a horrible situation that we don't have proof that that's exactly what it is yet, but we know something's not right because they've changed.
Yeah, I think providing a safe space lets people, especially children, um, let their guard down.
Yeah.
A change in their environment where everyone's in a new environment usually
Yeah.
tends to help when you want to build that safe space. But
Wow.
at the
Build a
same
safe space.
Mhm. But at the same time, of course, you're looking for signs, but you're not coming to judgments without proof, because that's
Right.
where a lot of people go off the rails.
Hmm.
Um, but literally creating that safe space for you to share information, or for y'all to just connect on a
I
level of
love
trust.
it.
Because when
I
children
love it.
trust you, then they're like, oh, okay, I may be able to tell this person what's going on.
Right. Wow. That's deep. That is deep. I mean, creating that, there you go. There's the call to action for everyone. And sister, we may need to do a pledge for that on the website as well. A pledge to make it a safe place for those young people.
Mm-hmm.
Because when our young people are in with mentors and with coaches and with auntie and uncle them and grandma and them, and they're with at church, we have to make it a safe place and have forums to where they can talk, you're right, and feel that they can trust you. But if you're always, sit down, shut up, be quiet, don't do this, don't do that, we don't know why they're acting out. And so it's a good time to create a safe place, say, talk to me, what's going on? I notice that you are here and there. I notice this. I notice that. Are you okay? I'm here to listen, you know, and that's it. And then just listen, because
Yeah.
you're right. They might need a safe place to talk, to share. And then if you are not qualified to handle the coaching of that young person, transition it over to, I'm sure you have spiritual counselors at church. You have,
Yeah.
and talk to the parent,
Hmm.
if it, if it's abuse, that's a different story, and that's why we highly recommend that you um, seek help from organizations like RAIN, RAINN. There's plenty of organizations that will provide help and guidance on how to handle certain situations. I recommend that all churches have, some type of policy that mirrors these larger organizations like RAIN, RAINN, and how to handle these types of situations, how to
Hmm.
transition them over to authorities, how to transition them over to the right places. So you minimize the risk of that child being hurt,
Hmm.
or someone backlashing, or even someone dying.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it is that you have a safe space or you suspect something is going on, the goal is just to provide the space. People will open up
That's right.
in the space on their own. You
Wow.
can, you know, say, hey, this is a safe space and whatever. It's only with time in that space anyway that anyone's going to feel comfortable enough to believe what you're saying and trust what you're saying.
Right, right. I'm trying to find a way to do this, sis, as I'm listening to you. It's not working out, so I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to close out because I got to get driving. So I love what she just said. Please make a note of it, because it's so important to have that safe space for our young people. We are going to tap on this a little bit more. We've got 2 more weeks to tap on this.
Hmm.
However, we do have a special guest next week. Um, and Sylvia Watkins will be on talking
Oh,
about her book, Be Beautiful. It's about transitions, and it really fits in perfectly with transitions of people who are surviving domestic violence, who are in domestic violence, and they want to transition over. Her book is not specifically about domestic violence, but her book is so awesome that it can work with any transition in your life. And
mm,
since we are focused on that awareness, right now, I want to talk to her about how it relates to domestic violence or physical abuse. If someone's coming out of it, they're still in it. How do they find that inner strength to make a move,
mhm.
and get their life back on track? So I'm excited about Sylvia Watkins being on
Yeah.
next week. And then we have Biddy Newborn. Oh, wow. That's going to be an amazing interview. She's going to be on, I believe, the first weekend in November
Okay.
with us. And so that's something you definitely want to attend, guys and gals. Um, but let's continue this going on, continue the
Yes.
awareness about a tough subject.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep, yep.
yeah, wow.
And yeah, just to really reiterate, just remember that if you suspect something like that is going on, please do your research first.
Yes. Do your research first. That's real talk. Do your research first. Wow. We love you all. We love you. We love you. And we look forward to seeing y'all next week. I love you, sister.
Love it too.
Say hey, peace to Minister Kaylee out there. I know she's doing the
Hi, Mr.
Tabernacle
Gailey.
of Praise in the Griffin campus this afternoon. So I know she is like running around being that amazing mentor that we know she is as
Yeah.
well. And so I will talk to you later, my sister.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. See y'all later.